Griner thing for the Democrats was a political ploy, and Biden was trying to make it look like I am doing everything I can. Russian aid declares. And this is an update. An aide to Russian President Vladimir. This is serious to Russia, but it's not serious enough during what they have going over this whole thing. Okay, they're irritated over it. I mean, they came out, they were talking about, and they let you know very clearly where Brittany Griner stands right now. And that, this is so political. I mean, it's political from the standpoint of the virtue signaling from the Democrats.
The host calls out Lexi Brown and Cheryl Swoops by name as pure haters who've been acting jealous toward Caitlin Clark since before she even got into the league. And that's a heavy accusation to sling at two people with actual basketball resumes. Both Brown and Swoops have made real, substantive comments about the media coverage gap between Clark and other players, which is a legitimate basketball conversation, not automatically hating just because it's critical. Reducing a nuanced media attention critique to jealousy is a classic way to shut down the conversation instead of engaging with it. Doesn't mean their takes are beyond criticism, but hater isn't an argument, it's a dismissal. From one alleged hater, straight to the host's favorite convert of the week.
Came out and said she's not a priority, and they haven't even acknowledged that trade offer last we heard. Not even acknowledged it. In this tense situation, I think that Biden is thinking first and foremost about the upcoming midterm elections, said Yuri Yuskakov on state-run TV program Moscow Kremlin Putin.
The host declares Robin Lumberg has officially crossed over after he said, "Give Clark the keys or take a hike," then pivots into calling coach Stephanie White Bonehead White, who needs to get out of the way. That's a real nickname being lobbed at a NBA head coach based on lineup and rotation decisions, and coaching debates are absolutely fair game. But there's a difference between "I disagree with her rotation choices" and turning her name into a slur-adjacent nickname on repeat. Stephanie White has a long coaching resume, including a WNBA Coach of the Year award earlier in her career, so dismissing her as clueless because of one stretch of games is skipping over a lot of context. Speaking of context, let's get to the moment that's actually driving this whole video.
Arrange a swap to free her, this is USA Today, have been hampered by historically poor relations with Russia. Biden said he would be willing to discuss Griner's case with Putin at next month's Group of 20 meeting in Indonesia. Okay, I mean, that's Biden saying, I'd be willing to talk to Putin if I can get a...
Here's the soundbite the title's built on. Courtney Williams saying flat out she's cold for real about Caitlin Clark, after initially hyping up her own teammate Olivia Miles. That shift, starting with "Olivia's the rawest rookie I've ever seen," and then course-correcting to "Wait, Caitlin Clark is like that too," reads as genuinely unscripted, and that's exactly why it's resonating. Williams isn't the first player to publicly credit Clark's talent, but coming from someone who plays against her regularly and isn't shy about trash talk in general, the compliment carries real weight. It's a good moment. The question is what the host does with it next.
Is irritated over this whole thing. Okay, they're irritated over it. I mean, they came out, they were talking about, well, medical marijuana, this and that and the other. Russia come out and said, that is what the United States does. We have no business being drug addicts over here.
The right side of history, the Clark side of history. That's the framing the host lands on, right after saying Stephanie White has no clue what she's doing and is in over her head. Turning a managed coach's game management decisions into a binary with Clark or against Clark loyalty test isn't really basketball analysis. It's fandom dressed up as one. Coaches make rotation and usage decisions based on matchups, fatigue, and roster construction. None of that requires being anti-Clark and framing every coaching choice that doesn't maximize one player's touches as some kind of moral failing sets up a pretty shallow standard for what good coaching even means.
States, at least I hope she does. Peace, I'm out. Till next time.
Thanks for watching the show. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Be sure to tune in next time on Black and White Sports.
The setup here is genuinely interesting. Fans and analysts noticing Olivia Miles isn't getting the same physical, full-court, blitzing defensive attention that teams throw at Caitlin Clark, dubbed the Paige Buchers treatment. That's a real pattern worth discussing. Defenses calibrate effort based on perceived threat level, and if Miles is torching teams without that treatment, that's either a scouting oversight or a sign she hasn't fully registered as a priority yet. Either read is a legitimate basketball conversation about how quickly defensive schemes adjust to rookie production, which is more interesting than most of what follows in this video. Robin Lundberg's actual quote is simple: "Give Caitlin Clark the keys. Take credit or take a hike." A blunt but fairly standard empower your best player take that coaches and fans debate about star players across every sport. It's not a wild claim. Let your most talented player create is basic basketball logic, especially once a player's shown she can draw enough defensive attention to open things up for teammates like Kelsey Mitchell. Where it gets less standard is what happens to this quote in the host's hands right after. The hosts read on Williams' shift, from praising her own teammate to immediately pivoting to, "Wait, Caitlin Clark is like that," is actually a sharp bit of analysis, noticing that Williams caught herself before the compliment could sound like an unfair comparison. That kind of in-the-moment self-correction is hard to fake, and it's a more convincing signal of genuine respect than a lot of scripted, "I respect her game," media day answers players give. Good catch by the host here, even if the video takes a much less careful approach in other spots.
Well, we've got a Brittany Griner update, and it is a big one, and it is disastrous news for Brittany Griner. This comes directly from one of the direct aides to Vladimir Putin, and they let you know very clearly where Brittany Griner stands.
Venom's quote to Robin: "This is everything I was telling you last year, and you made excuse after excuse," is basically one YouTube commentator ribbing another for taking longer to come around on a take. That's low-stakes creator rivalry stuff, entertaining if you follow this specific corner of WNBA YouTube, but it's worth remembering this is commentary about commentary, two content creators debating each other's prior takes, several steps removed from anything happening on an actual basketball court.
CERN, Russian aide declares, and this is an update, an aide to Russian President Vladimir Putin said Sunday that WNBA star Brittany Griner's release is not imminent. Quote, "In this tense situation, I think that he..."
Natalie Nakase reportedly having Miles guarded with something like 25% of the Clark treatment and Miles struggling in the fourth quarter against Washington is a genuinely useful data point for the earlier defense conversation. It suggests that when teams do ramp up defensive pressure on Miles, even partially, it disrupts her rhythm. That's a small sample, one game, so it's worth being careful about overreading it, but it's the kind of in-season adjustment worth tracking over the next several games to see if it becomes a league-wide blueprint.
Came out and said she's not a priority, and they haven't even acknowledged that trade offer last we heard. Not even acknowledged it. In this tense situation, I think that Biden is thinking first and foremost about the upcoming midterm elections, said Yuri Yuskov on state-run TV program Moscow Kremlin Putin.
The 62 records as a rookie claim gets stated pretty matter-of-factly here, worth double-checking the exact figure and what counts as a record before repeating it anywhere official, since these viral stat claims about Clark's rookie year have circulated in a lot of different, sometimes inconsistent versions online. What's not really in dispute is that she drew historic defensive attention and media coverage as a rookie. The specific number is the part that needs a source check, not the general claim that her rookie season was statistically and culturally massive.
Arrange a swap to free her, this is USA Today, have been hampered by historically poor relations with Russia. Biden said he would be willing to discuss Griner's case with Putin at next month's Group of 20 meeting in Indonesia. Huh. Okay. I mean, that's Biden saying, I'd be willing to talk to Putin if I can get a...
Before Clark ever comes up, Williams is talking about her own teammate. Olivia is the rawest rookie I've ever seen in my life, and I'm not even joking. That's a real, unprompted compliment for Miles, and it's worth remembering this clip exists independent of the Clark conversation. Williams clearly rates her own teammate highly too. It's a good reminder that this isn't a zero-sum, one rookie versus another situation. Williams seems genuinely impressed by both, which is a more interesting take than the "she picked a side" framing this video eventually goes with.
Is irritated over this whole thing. Okay, they're irritated over it. I mean, they came out, they were talking about, well, medical marijuana, this and that and the other. Russia come out and said, that is what the United States does. We have no business being drug addicts over here.
Closing out, the host thanks Williams for showing love to Caitlin Clark and not being a hater, wishing more host NBA veterans were like her. That's a fine sentiment on its face, crediting a player for a genuine, unprompted compliment, but it's worth noticing the video spent the previous 8 minutes labeling anyone who's been critical of Clark's coverage as a hater, which flattens a much wider range of legitimate opinions in the league into one binary. Williams gave a good soundbite. That doesn't make everyone with a different read on the situation wrong.
States, at least I hope she does. Peace, I'm out. Till next time.
Thanks for watching the show. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Be sure to tune in next time on Black and White Sports.